승부석 2.
프로스트로 떠납니다.
Here we are on Frost for map number 2, up in the top right. Winning that last one from KT Rolster, it is Stats.
His opponent to the bottom left in green, the second foreigner ever to have made a round of 4 in a Korean StarCraft 2 tournament. It is Neeb.
We'll see if he can bring it back in game number 2. I know a ton of people out there are cheering for the Sky, hoping that he is the first foreigner to make it to a finals here in a Korean tournament. We'll see if he can do that. It was, it was a very even game in that first one. Stats did eventually win, but Neeb was holding his own. And, Stats was saying in his interview that if you hit the name, Neeb plays like a Korean player. And Neeb has been here in Korea for a while. He's been, training with Koreans, practicing on the Korean ladder. He basically is becoming a quote-unquote Korean player, even though he is from America. I mean, it's we say this before. It's like Neeb, or rather, Korean players are not, some kind of magical beasts. They practice more. They have a better practice environment.
Absolutely.
And Neeb has ingrained himself into that environment.
When you look at the success of foreign players throughout StarCraft history, the only foreign player to have ever won an OSL, Guillaume Petrie, also known as Gur, is now a celebrity in Korea, one of the most famous foreigners in the country, trained and practiced like a Korean in 2000 when he won an OSL. Jinro lived and trained in Korea when he got 2 round of 4s in 2010 and 2011. Idra's performances in GSL Kodes, Huck making it through the up and down matches, Mana making it through the up and down matches. All these players lived and trained in Korea with Koreans and played on the Korean ladder. It's no surprise that the best foreigners in StarCraft in general have trained here, moved here, and want to be the best. And this is just one more example of that, 6 years after this game's released in 2016. And people try to compare the run of Jinro and the GSL, Kodes, and Neeb in this tournament. I do feel those comparisons are when you look at performance-wise, hard to compare because it's a different time period, it's a different format of tournament. But the fact still remains they both made it to a round of 4, and Neeb will have gone one step further if he can win this best of 5. Now we have a fast tech to Twilight Council here for Stats.
I think he's going to go for DTs. You see that pilot, or rather the probe that sneaks out and goes down to the bottom right. That's really key. He goes there because he saw the Adepts, and he had to get that probe out, before the Adepts come over so that he can hide something. But as I say that, Blink is started, and that probe is still out there, so maybe it's just going to be a forward pylon.
Look at this. He's looking for it. He fails to find it, though. Let's remember also that Neeb saw 4 Stalkers with that Adept little scout there. He's actually going to confirm a Nexus here as well. Very huge scouts back-to-back there. And he doesn't find this pylon, but he knows that there's a high chance Stalkers are going to be what he's up against. Let's see if he really is feeling that way. If he is, he's definitely going to make an Immortal before Observer here out of this Robo that's about to finish out. If he makes an Observer, he's playing it more safe in terms of DTs and scouting following up.
Yeah, we saw what happened to Patience yesterday when he was facing against Stats in game number 5. Making that Immortal was the wrong choice, but in this game, I think it's going to be the right choice.
He saw the Stalkers. He knows it's more likely Stalker pressure. He even has these 2 sentries here to help work against that with this pylon here. And Neeb, Stats is going to commit to the warp in.
Yeah, Neeb is actually in a great spot here. His Nexus is ahead. He has more probes. He's going to have that Immortal pop out just in time. And he's made a pylon in the front, too. He's very well prepared for what's coming out. I think he's correctly identified what's coming, even though he did not see the pylon. He was looking for it. He's like, okay, I think you're going for a Blink kind of timing aggression here on this map, even though it is Frost. And he's going to be very well prepared.
Absolutely. Observer coming out now. Next, this Shade again scouts this push out. Just needs to get these units in position. Stats, of course, knows this will not be a position he can break right now, but he's going to try to pick off key units if he can. The Immortal, of course, is going to be the most, the one he wants, and this is still an auto-cast. Not turning that off actually could hurt Neeb here, as now that barrier is wasted.
A very early overcharge as well. It seems like Neeb is a little bit scared, even so. even though he knows this is coming and he does have that Immortal, he seems like he's, playing very, very safe.
Yeah.
You have a Warp Prism coming out here.
I feel like he started to react, though, right as you were saying that, he then committed to pushing out and pushing these units away. I do agree with your analysis of the situation, though. I think he was thinking, like, oh my god, is this an all-in? When in reality, he gets his own blink. That's the tech he's missing here. It's going to give him some struggles to fight in straight-up fights like this, even though if they fought for an extended period of time, he would win it. This could allow Stats to pick off some of his units without being punished. So getting that blink is very important. And Stats gets a faster forge here because he knows, in a sense, he's very much committed heavily to this tech. He needs to get ahead in another way now. And this forge is going to be the first step in that direction. Nice pickup on that Observer as well, denying where these Stalkers are, forcing Neeb to use these shades to get vision. Oh, he's going to commit here. Try to see if Stats isn't paying attention. He was.
Stats is always watching.
Stats is...
He's always watching.
I actually feel, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like Stats is the best PvP micro in StarCraft 2 right now, and probably for the year.
Yeah.
He has incredible Blink Stalker micro. Let's see some more of it here. This is just a Blink up. Unfortunately, with Blink on cooldown, not able to save that Stalker. A Stalker for a pylon. But this does remove more vision from Neeb for later on when this Prism potentially comes in. He is going to warp in one Adept here for the time being. We'll probably commit to more a little bit later on. Now, what Stats could do here is use this Prism to distract Neeb while he takes a third base. That's definitely an option here for him.
Neeb does have 2 Adepts. I mean, look at the minimap right now. I want you guys to. There are 2 Adepts over by Stats' base, near that third base location. So it looks like he's trying to snipe perhaps a probe. He knows what Stats is trying to do here. Neeb, I feel like he's in total control of this game and knows exactly what's going on.
Now, I like this move a lot. What we see with this Warp Prism here is actually... It's the vision control I was talking about with that Observer snipe. He knows that Neeb's army is far away and that this is absolutely reasonable. This is absolutely something he can get damage with, that Prism. Nice trap here. But that Prism just shows how important Observers are in this matchup, and knowing where the army is at all times allows moves like this. Otherwise, Stats would never commit to that if he didn't know where the army was because he could lose his whole Prism. In this case, he finds a little bit of damage and knows he can move back in here as well.
I'm going to try to drop here once again, just getting as much damage as possible and actually pushing the Warp Prism away to make sure that he gets those 2 Adepts, trading them for 3 probes.
You see the difference here. Neeb this time has the Observer. This time he clears Stats' Observer, and the drop is useless. So that vision control is so important. Glaives on the way for both players. Neeb is yet again going to go into Disruptor tech. His Robotic Support Bay is just now finished, and he is going to go into that right away. We'll see if Stats decides to deal with this similarly. This time he doesn't have a Stargate. This time he's not going to have the Phoenix tech in order to just lift the damage away out of the field.
And what is the tech going to be here for Stats? I mean, he is going for those upgrades. You see the Forge for Neeb is quite late comparatively. But at the same time, it looks like he wants to get the earlier Archons instead of the Disruptor tech. Neeb definitely favoring those Disruptors. Disruptors kind of fell out of popularity here in Korea, especially outside of all matchups except PvP. You see it from time to time in PvP, but players are so good against microing against Disruptors that players are just like, I don't really want to build them. I want to go for the more solid army. Immortals, Archons, even Storm was mixed in a little bit by Zest.
Yeah, and we see Tempest play in the Supreme late game. And on very rare cases, we saw SOS making Colossi in the matchup for Colossi timing attacks on Dust Towers. We saw that a few times. So there are options out there, but the standard is the Archon Immortal and Adept. And obviously when you start to lose your Adepts, you don't necessarily always remake them, you make them more expensive units, and Archon counts are really huge. Disruptor counts are huge, but also Disruptor value. If you have 10 Disruptors and not a single shot goes off, then you've spent a lot of money for nothing. And that's basically what we saw in the last game. A few Adepts coming over in here, they do get shut down, but let's see if he can find value of these Disruptors this game, and also Stats if he commits to his own, because it looks like he will with a second Robo and this Robotic Support Bay. He's already going to be behind in Disruptors, but again, as we saw yesterday, even if you're down 4 Disruptors, you can still want to fight if your shots connect better.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to the micro once again. This is what is happening over here in PvP nowadays. Nice catch here on the Warp Prism. These Adepts not doing too much damage. Stats able to shut that down with a couple of overcharges. We do see a Dark Shrine on the way, so Stats bringing in that Dark Templar tech here. Neeb not going for that just yet. He adds his own second robotics facility as well.
Ooh, Stat's going to blink in here, but there's a much larger stalker count for Neeb, who's actually been committing to stalkers yet again in this game. 15-6. Going to go for another blink forward. This will be scouted by this pile in the Shaden, so Neeb should be able to respond to this. In fact, already moving his army back. Meanwhile, Stat's looking for some damage, or it's the same damage I was talking about, and Neeb responding immediately, but already 2 probes go down, a little bit of lost mining time, and Stats can regain control of the map during this time. So he's going to sit at home and wait for his Disruptors to come out. Neeb is just now finishing his second Robo, so the Disruptor count is actually going to even up here. The much larger army is still in favor of Neeb, however. Warp Prism speed on the way for Stats, which is going to allow him to control his Disruptors a little bit better going forward. As well as do a little bit more harass. You could even try to go for some Disruptor drops of these Graphitic boosters once they're done. And Neeb is teching towards a Supreme late game here with his first Stargate. And this is going to be, I guess, the longer game we were hoping to see on Galactic Process. We didn't really get to see.
Yeah, I feel like Neeb is definitely in control of this one, as I was saying before. Just from the beginning, he seems one step ahead of Stats in every facet. He's getting the bigger army. The one thing that he doesn't have is those upgrades, but if he techs the Tempest first, that's going to be more important. And, is Stats going to identify that and have the necessary response coming out here in just a bit? That is the real question. And also, as we said, it's really going to come down to those Disruptor shots when we do see eventually the fight, and some Adepts coming out here trying to do a bit of damage. Neeb has been pretty consistent with that, but he's dragging this army out of position. We'll see if he wants to take a fight here. Going to scout with some Adepts.
Yep, just going to get vision of where the army is positioned. That's obviously so valuable. Let's also not forget that because Stats coming into that Dark Shrine, that can be something that you can just straight up win games off of in the late game. Oh,
look at that!
The flank. This is what you're looking for as a Disruptor player.
And Neeb, he has the much bigger army. Can he identify that, though? Oh, the Disruptor shots, the Purification Nova's coming out of Stats here, getting a little bit of damage. Is Neeb going to commit to the fight, though? That is the question. Is he confident enough, and does he identify that he has the bigger army?
All right, this base over here uncontested for the time being, although as you say, there's 2 Adepts up there, perhaps empty because of that, as we're looking at something else. 9 Disruptors to 7 currently, but the larger army in Stalkers is favored by Neeb right now. You can just see it when you look at the numbers of units here, just how ahead he is. He's 8 Stalkers up, 2 Disruptors up. This is going to get shut down. And Purification Novas here, of course, dodging them is of the utmost importance. We can see flanks, we can see Warp Prism with speed usage here. And Stats is also adding a Stargate, as this may just simply become a stalemate in the middle of the map, as no one wants to commit to a fight that could be too risky, that could be game-ending, just something off of a control mistake.
Oh, Neeb, he's committing. He's coming into this third base, takes a bit of damage from that one Disruptor.
Oh, just a little bit counter-wise. Oh, that's huge. Huge damage to Neeb's army. And now with that, Stats has nearly equalized the size. I feel like Neeb should use his Stargate tech here instead of trying to fight with this army, because if he makes one mistake on Stats' side of the map, Stats will walk across and kill him. Immediately, this will happen.
Yeah.
I like this Oracle tech. He's actually just going to use this for tags and vision. Oh, the blink in. Snipes it here.
He does blink, though, but Neeb does not commit to a Purification Nova. Coming in now, not going to push that one out.
Now, if you've never played StarCraft 2 before, controlling these and firing these is a lot harder than it looks.
Oh, the Disruptors! So close. This is why I love Disruptors. Just a fun unit when it comes to these micro battles here. The Disruptors of Stats coming out. He's going to zone it, though, and it looks like he wants to take out this 4th base, and it looks like he will as well.
The cost of gas in these 12 Disruptors, 13 Disruptors now for Neeb is like,
oh, so close.
He gets the first one off. It's like what you would have in it's 4 or 5 mid-game PvPs worth of gas in one army in 12 Disruptors. Oh,
so close. This is unbelievable. I love watching this.
All right,
these Stalkers are doing a little bit of damage,
this
but
is pulling Neeb apart. This is going to cause him, of course, perhaps to make a mistake with his micro while he's dealing with this over here.
Looks like he's okay. He's blinking and sending out Purification Novas at the same time. This guy is a literal god, Tasteless.
He can also use Blink on the mini-map, so that's something he could be doing. Now just going to be controlling this army here with a larger Stalker count. Oh, Stats! Nearly gets the biggest shot of Disruptors we might have ever seen, but he does get targeted. If you're watching, you don't know how this works. The Purification Nova will be canceled if the Disruptor dies before it explodes. So you can do some fancy target micro in those situations.
You talked about this yesterday quickly, where, when you get up to 13 or, more than 10 Disruptors, is it really worth it? But Neeb is actually using it to great effect here to just zone out the entire army of stats and continuously take out that fourth base. Neeb has been up a base now for about a minute, and that's really going to take effect here in this game.
That's part of the reason why he has so many more Disruptors and stats. You don't want to stop at 5.
Nice hits.
Make it 3 with those hits there. Stats almost has to fight soon, but he has a smaller army. He has 3 observers to the 1. He could snipe that observer if he gets an opportunity and try to use DTs to win the fight. Keep that in mind.
Tempest.
He finally could start these Tempests. He's finally reached a comfort point in this game to have the gas and to have the pressure removed so he can make those units.
And part of the reason is because he has that base, and Neeb is just out, controlling. Oh, as I say that, he takes a bit of damage from that Disruptor. Very close to sniping a couple of Disruptors there, but he's out maneuvering stats here, I would say. He gets that position on the fourth base, and he has enough Disruptors to continuously zone out stats and be up a base so that he can go for this tech. And stats, he has 1 Stargate, I believe, but he's not going to have the answer here for these Tempests by the time they come out.
Neeb is also not going to have an answer for these Stalkers that are coming across to harass. Stats is basically just using these Disruptors defensively to allow these Stalkers to counterattack. Neeb has no vision of this. He's about to find out for the first time when he sees this. And I always recommend, if I could, to Neeb to make a Dark Shrine. These Tempests are going to get caught too. If we had a Dark Shrine, this would be easier to deal with. Stats taking another huge Disruptor shot, but so will Neeb.
Taking a minute damage. Neeb, he's going to commit a huge hit on those Archons, even though you guys can't see it. The Archon's being chunked down, and he's going to defend against these Stalkers. GG!
Neeb tied it up 1-1 with a better Disruptor control. The better bases there. He had 1 base up. Perhaps if he had a Dark Shrine defending those Stalkers would have been easier, but at the Tempest bottom of time, he had so much money, he just warped in Stalkers of his own. He had Immortals rallied. He defended that push. That was the one thing I was worried about for him there. But once he defended that, the game was over, and Stats just went
knew
for
it
broke.
too.
He went for broke to try to fight him, and he couldn't win the fight.
He was trying to blink underneath those Tempests, but he got countered there by the Immortals, by the Stalkers of Neeb on the defense. And at the same time, he lost the fight on the other side of the map, and it was just way too much. And I have to say it, Neeb actually outplayed one of the best Prodosses in the world, in Korea here. And it's now tied up 1-1. Neeb can definitely win this one. He has shown that he is capable. Will he make America great again? That's the real question.
That is the question. 1-1. Both players need 2 more wins as we narrow down to our smaller maps. Both Frost and Galactic Process off the table. We're now going into a 2-player map here. Frozen Temple, a much smaller one, where Stalker Aggression, very powerful, very potent. Third bases, a lot harder to take. And after that, we're going to Sejong, another smaller 2-player map, and then New Gettysburg, which will probably be the most epic of the 5 should we get there. So I'm looking forward to it. Wondering if we're going to see Phoenix play, going into Sejong and Gettysburg as well. This might be the last map where we start to see Twilight Council openings on the ground in this best of 5.
Yeah, definitely could come out here. Guys, we're going to jump into game number 3 now on Frozen Temple between Stats